it's Jessica, and today I'm bringing you a review of the entire Wet n Wild Coverall line. Everything except for the powder. So I've got the primer, the foundation, and the concealer, and in a second I'm going to show you a demo of me applying it to my bare face so you can see how they look, you know, based off of what my skin was and then what it looks like with these on. That way you can really get a feel for the coverage and the finish and things like that. Now, I've been using the foundation for about a year now, so I really know how I feel about this. And then the primer and the concealer I've had for maybe a week and a half, and I've been wearing them every single day really to get a feel for how I feel about them. I'm actually wearing all of this right now, and then of course I've got my other makeup on top of it. So this is the finished look with all three of these products, but let's go ahead and get into the demo so you can see how they look when I'm applying them. Okay, so I've already applied my Andalou Natural Serum and then my Humble and Lavi Restorative Day Cream, and I've let these kind of sink into my skin for a few minutes. And now my skin, it's, you know, it's not tacky, everything's kind of soaked in. So now I feel ready to apply the primer. So the primer comes in a little squeezy tube just like the foundation does. And it says Coverall Primer, and it says that it's a magic potion to refine pores, fill fine lines, brighten complexion, and even skin tone. Now I've been using, this is not a first impressions video, I've been using these for a little over a week every single day, and this I've been using for like a year. I've had this for a very long time and I've been using it and loving it. But the primer is very new to me and I've only been using it for a week and a half. But what I've noticed is that, just so you can see the consistency, it looks like Elmer's glue. It looks like Elmer's glue. Kind of, not really. I remember the first time I did it like 2 weeks ago, I felt like it even smelled like it, but smelling it now, I don't feel like it totally smells like it, but it really is more of a lotiony primer. I'm used to, with my skin, using like silicone based type primers that are really velvety feeling and typically transparent. And of course this is transparent too. The white fades away like any moisturizer would. It does have a soft feeling once it's spread out across your skin, like even right now, it does feel soft. And I'm thinking that this would be a better option for people with dry skin like me, and I think I might switch to more primers that are more like this, that are a little more moisturizing, because, you know, with the silicone primers, I don't like to use them because they really do illuminate any dryness I've got going on right here, which I do right now. I also have a few little breakouts because of, well, do you want to know what broke me out? Let me show you. I have a few breakouts because of this Laura Geller Balance and Brighten Foundation. I have it in Fair and it's really pretty, but it's been breaking me out, and I had used it a long time ago, like a year ago, and I noticed a breakout, so I put it away, and then I pulled it back out, and sure enough, I broke out again. So I'm like, it's gotta be this. Anyway, so the primer, it does feel really soft. I don't know that it necessarily brightens my skin or blurs any imperfections on its own, because, you know, I've got freckles. Now those aren't imperfections, but you know, you can still see my freckles, you can still see kind of a little bit of hyperpigmentation, my nose is still a little bit red. So I don't necessarily know that it brightens your complexions or really evens your skin tone. Fine lines, which I do have some here, I don't notice they're any less. So in that regard, I don't think this is a magic potion in that way. Now, what I will attest to is how it works underneath the foundation. So that's really the purposes of this. So the foundation is, of course, the Coverall. I found it in 815 Fair, which is the lightest one they had. I had the next one up, 816, I think it's called Light, and I got rid of it. It was way too dark for my skin. And I used to use it sometimes in the summer, and I used it almost up, but I was so excited to see a lighter one. So it's the same type squeezy tube packaging. It's a very liquidy foundation. And I am just gonna kind of dot it along as we go. It looks liquidy, but it's almost kind of sticky feeling, and when you use it, you'll know exactly what I mean. It really is almost a sticky feeling. I usually just dot it on, but lately I've been spreading it out because I notice it goes on a little more evenly. I'm just using my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush, which I love to use with every foundation ever. So, starting in the middle and working my way out. So you can already tell, now of course, this really is fair. And looking at this blended out part compared to my skin, I am a little warmer toned than this, so that is one thing, but that's something that's easily remedied by bronzer. Now I'm going to do the other half of my face, or really the other third, with my hand just to kind of see what it looks like when you just blend it in with your fingers. Because not everyone uses brushes, and sometimes brushes are not the best option for certain foundations. So, I mean, it's got pretty darn good coverage. Now, of course, I don't have concealer on yet, so that's something that I haven't really covered. But other than that, it really does cover up a lot. This does not look greasy at all, and it covers a lot. Now, what I've been doing ever since I've ever used this is I always, with really any foundation, I'll take a little bit more and put it on the areas that I feel like need a little more coverage, like my hyperpigmentation area. Plus that'll make my blush look a little more seamless because it's got a more blank slate to go onto. And I always put a little more on my nose because it's always red. So I would say brush versus hand. I don't think there's really a difference. Do you guys notice the difference? I feel like it applies the same way because it does sink into the skin really quickly and nicely. You don't feel like you're dragging it across the skin. Like I said, the only thing is it is sticky as you're applying it, but once it dries, it's tacky. Like right now it's tacky. But up here where I didn't apply anymore, it's no longer tacky. So it does take a little bit to kind of set into your skin before you want to put a blush or a bronzer because it's going to stick to those tacky spots. But as long as you give it about 2 minutes, I feel like you're fine. You could work on your brows or something. So the last thing I'm going to try is the Wet n Wild Coverall Liquid Concealer Wand. It comes in a wand like this, and I'm just going to apply it where I would typically apply it. This is the lightest one they had, and it is very orange on my skin tone. I'll just pretend like it's a salmon tone concealer. Again, I'll use the brush on one side and my fingers on the other. I'm not doing any crazy highlight. You know, with some concealers I might do that where you do the upside down triangle, but not with this one. So I'm just going to use my foundation brush because this is great for this as well. And I'm just going to blend it through. So it worked okay. It's not, I mean, it's got a, honestly, the first time I used this, there was like no coverage whatsoever. And I don't know what I've done differently now. Trying it with the finger might be different, so let's just see. This color looks ridiculous before it's blended in. Yeah, finger is not ideal. I can already see, do you see how it's splotching? So I'm just gonna finish it with the brush because I don't want to have to redo it. So fingers are not ideal. Now we know that for this foundation, or this concealer. It certainly is more concealed. There's certainly a little brightness to it. I mean, I just don't think there's anything special. I think, you know, it's really cheap, so if you're dying to have some sort of concealer, I mean, it is really cheap. I want to say it was like $2.99 maybe. And it concealed a little bit. You know, I certainly look way better than I did before, so I can't complain. And this is one that when I've used it in the mornings, by the end of the day, I don't feel like it is still concealing. So that would be my main gripe, because right now it looks pretty good, really. But by the end of the day, I just remember always looking at it and being like, ugh, like I feel like, I don't think this is ever going to be a go-to of mine. That's what I'll say. So overall, I think it covers well. So obviously, it does have pretty high coverage. That's what I would consider. I would say that it's medium to high coverage. You can build on top of it if you want, but right off the bat, it's got medium to full. But you can really build it up to full. It never really looks splotchy or cakey, and I really like the finish. I feel like it looks really satiny and nice. Now, of course, I've got you know, powder, like highlighting powder on top of it and blush on and things like that, but I think on its own, it really does look nice. Now, the price point, these are each around $5 depending on where you go, and the concealer is typically, I think, $3.99, maybe even cheaper. It might even be $2.99 where you go. So it's not expensive at all, especially considering a lot of drugstore foundations are going up there in price. Like some of them are getting really expensive, to be honest. I would say similar products to these. Let me see. Coverage-wise, I would say the Wet n Wild is similar to the CoverGirl 3-in-1. I like the Wet n Wild one better because it's more of a satin finish. This one really illuminates my dry patches, but this one does not, which honestly blows my mind. For something that is as nice of a finish as this is, I can't believe it doesn't illuminate my dry patches. The primer, I feel like I don't have any primers like this. Like I had mentioned, all of my primers are that silicone velvety feel to it, and this one's different, but I do like it because what I've noticed over the past week is that my foundation doesn't move. Like, it really does stay in place. And this on its own really stays in place, but I do think it looks better with the primer. Oh my gosh, I really love this foundation. Now, the concealer, similar products, I want to say it's similar to like the Maybelline Fit Me one, but I like the Fit Me better. I think it's got better coverage. Now, I ended up putting a Bare Minerals powder on top of it, like a powder concealer, because as I'd gone throughout my day, I realized that it was just kind of breaking up and looking not as, it wasn't concealing anymore. So once I set it with the powder though, it looked a lot better. So I think if you are going to go with this, definitely have some sort of loose powder to set it with so that way it doesn't move as much. But I like the packaging on these. I'm really on all of them. I like that these are squeezy too because it's easy to keep them clean and it's sanitary. Whoops. And then this, same thing, I don't mind the packaging with the doe foot because then you can put it exactly where you need it to go. I wish that both of these had a wider shade range for those with a lot darker skin. There's like not much. And I wish that they had a lighter version of the concealer because I do feel like it's a little darker for my skin, so it wasn't as brightening as well as concealing. I didn't notice any offensive smells with anything. This kind of smells, no, see, it kind of smells like glue. It just slightly, not enough that it's that crazy, and it's not like you smell it throughout the day on your face, but it does have a little bit of a smell, but there's nothing offensive, I think, about the other two. And it really isn't sticky. So once it did sink in, like I'd mentioned, it's not sticky, it stays put. I would say the best way to apply the primer is with your hands, obviously, because it's more of a lotion base. I do think this one, it doesn't really matter whether you use your hands or a brush. I prefer it with a brush just because I felt like it looked just a little bit better, but honestly, it was basically the same. Some foundations, it really does matter how you apply it, like especially if they're thicker, but this one, you could apply it with your hands. It's gonna look the same as if you applied it with a brush or a beauty blender for that matter. And then the concealer, I would say blend it out with a brush of some kind or a beauty blender, not your fingers, because it just wiped away with fingers. And I would guess that with the beauty blender, this would probably wipe away too because it's really just very light and I don't love it. Wear time on these, all day, 3 hours. Like, this is not great. I think you guys can guess how I feel about this. Wet n Wild sometimes has coupons, so if you're thinking about where to buy Wet n Wild, they will have coupons every so often in ads for like $1 off. It's kind of rare to find them, but you can find them from time to time. And then of course, like at CVS, they'll sometimes have buy one get one half off sales on Wet n Wild, or $1 off of anything of Wet n Wild. So you really can get sales, although these are so fairly priced that you don't have to wait for a sale, Overall, would I recommend these products? I would recommend both of these and not the concealer. And it's not that the concealer is terrible, but it's just that there's nothing that special about it. I would recommend the Maybelline Fit Me over it, and it's probably $2 more. And if you get it on sale, it's probably the same price. And it's a better concealer. There's a little bit more of a color range. It conceals better, and it stays put most of the day. Whereas this one had left. So if you're looking for one, I would recommend this one. But I really do like this primer. I have a feeling I'll be using this a lot, because I really haven't fallen in love with the primer, and so far I really like this one. And the Coverall I've been using off and on for a long time because I do love it. And the only downfall is I wish they had more of a shade range, but if you can find one in your shade, or really they're so inexpensive you could get two and mix them to get the right shade, I really do love this stuff, and there's a ton of product in it, and oh, it's lovely. So hopefully that review is helpful for you guys. I will post my review video playlist down below if you're interested in seeing a bunch more of my drugstore reviews, especially of a lot of things that are new in the drugstore right now that are really, really cheap. So if you're interested, definitely check those out and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye. Ooh, okay, so it's a Rimmel one, and it's in the shade Crystal Mauve. Ooh. I don't think I've tried any of these, this packaging of Rimmel. Anyway, it's a really doesn't really have a smell, but it's a really creamy, almost sheer-ish formula. Well, it's not sheer, but it's, you know what I mean. It's kind of a buttery formula. I'm excited to try that.